Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So this is my take on the astrology for 2024. I'm going to give you sort of a high-level overview for each of the months and generally speaking for the year. I will go into the sun signs and ascendants towards the end, but you can always check in on the chapters yourself that are listed below as well as in the timestamps as well. So for 2024, actually the most significant thing, especially in the US of A, is not necessarily the astrology. It's actually an election year, a presidential election year for 2024, culminating at the election on the 5th of November 2024. Now, I'll cover it a little bit more when I get into the month of November, but notably we have Mars will be opposite Pluto at this time, so we can expect some potential big egos out there, and I guess that's not going to be unusual, right? So this next part of my video, I'm going to talk about just the general overarching types of things that are going to be happening astrologically before I get into like the months and the details of them. So one of the first biggest things that's going to happen on January 1st, Pacific time, is that Mercury will go direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, but it's important to remember that it's going direct at that degree. In November, there will be another Mercury retrograde, and it will go retrograde at that. So that degree point of 22 degrees, for various reasons, which I'll get into in the details, is going to be important. If you've got that in your chart, pay attention to what house it's in. There's going to be some stuff that goes on for the whole of 2024 that affects you. Speaking of other Mercury retrogrades, there's two other ones. We've got a Mercury retrograde that's going to be in Aries. The same month that Aries, you actually have an eclipse, total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees. So and it's all going to occur in Aries, and it's all going to occur in April. So that's an important time of considering new starts and pioneering new plans and paths for yourself, generally speaking. And the other Mercury retrograde that's going to happen starts in Virgo in August, but then ends up around 21 degrees of Leo. So both those signs, especially you, Virgo, because Mercury rules your sign, is going to be important for you to go back and looking at important details, right, for yourself during that time period of August. But Leo will be affected too, because of course that whole Mercury retrograde will go direct at 21 degrees of Leo. So that's another important Mercury retrograde, 3 of them this year. We've also I already talked about the eclipse that's happening in April at 19 degrees towards the end of April in Aries. But also in April, we have Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And it's going to be at 22 degrees of Taurus around April as well. But realistically, both Jupiter and Uranus will be conjunct very, very close together most of April and actually parts of May too. So those are also 2 months that are going to be important for us to be involved in some unexpected things coming our way that maybe help us break out of a rut. Big or small ruts, doesn't really matter. Most affected, of course, is going to be Taurians, and then the opposite sign of Scorpio too, where your partners may be brought in more. The eclipses, like I said, continue in both Libra as well as Aries. I'll discuss those in the monthly part of this video. But the other big thing in terms of eclipses is in September, the 17th of September, we will have our first eclipse that's not in Aries or Libra. It's going to be at 25 degrees of Pisces. And this kicks off us understanding that the transiting north nodes are going to be changing soon. Not in September, but in the second half of January 2025. And this eclipse on the 17th of September at 25 degrees Pisces is important because it's going to bring some things to light, probably in a big way if you've got anything around those degrees. So let's take 24, 25, 26 degrees of Pisces. You can bet that the following January 2025 for 18 months, that area of your life is going to be lit up and affected. But Pisces in particular is going to be affected because, of course, that eclipse is going to be very closely to conjuncting Neptune that's still in Pisces itself, along with Saturn. All right, that's just a really general overview. I'm now going to get into the individual months and some of the aspects that are happening at that time. All right, so starting off with January, literally on the 1st of Jan, we have that Mercury that was going retrograde in December 2023 will now go direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. And, Sagittarius is a very hopeful sign. And so I just saw this as a standalone to be very hopeful. Now, we still have to have Mercury come out of the shadow period and go back into Capricorn, right around the 8th degree of Capricorn. That's not going to really happen till about the 21st, 22nd of January. It'll be officially out of shadow period. But the other thing that we have happening in January that I thought was noteworthy was the fact that, we all know that Pluto is basically in Aquarius, but that 2024 is the very last year that Pluto will kind of go back into the last degrees of Capricorn. But in January, we will have a Sun at 0 degrees of Aquarius, conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And so that's going to be a very, very important time period. It is around that 21st, 22nd time period too, when we have Mercury going out of shadow. So I would expect some kind of significant effect from the standpoint of probably the world leaders, and something that tells us that there is a definite shift with regards to power and how it's being used. I will cover January as well in more detail in my January video. The other thing that happens is, and it usually does happen around this time of year, is Uranus will be going direct. So I see that as significant too. Now, that Uranus going direct in January may actually give us a lot of impetus to break free of something. And maybe that Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So maybe that's going to be a time, the month of January, where we see significant change with regards to, more things being given to the people, a more even playground with regards to, what everyone's going to be able to access, healthcare, anything along that line, and just being treated well, that everyone's being treated well, right? Lots of humanitarian type things may be going on too. But it really is giving power back to the people. And so, sometimes this can turn out where, there's going to be certain entrenched political parties ousted, and, the people decide to make the changes, right? All right, so that's January. We move on to February. And the 9th of February, we have a new moon at 20 degrees of Aquarius. Now, although this isn't going to be doing anything directly with Pluto, it is a new moon in Aquarius where Pluto is going to habit pretty soon, basically in November 2024 for 20 years. So I saw this new moon as probably something significant because it also opposes Uranus, which is now direct, and that is one of its rulers. So I would expect something significant of new that's going to happen around that new moon. And if you individually have something, say, around the 20-degree mark of Aquarius, you can expect some unexpected new beginning here. And at that same time, the north nodes are going to be conjuncting Chiron. And so this says, from a collective level to me, great healing for our future destiny. We're going to have Pluto for most of February 2024 at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And, right the way the beginning and into the first half of February, we're going to have that whole 0 degrees of Aquarius and Pluto being aspected by the inner planets. First of all, it's going to be Mercury. So that says some kind of powerful message will be given. It could also be translated into, because that whole Aquarius can represent some kind of electronic type things, even scientific things. It could be some big announcement that happens here in February of significance, right? And then we have Mars is going to be conjuncting Pluto at 0 degrees. Followed by sort of mid-February, Venus conjunct. Now, we can also speak to things like maybe new kind of currencies. I mean, we know we've got different types of ways we can, deal with money or exchange money itself. But this could represent some real tangible things happening with regards to the power of our money. Maybe there will be new currencies or equivalents of currencies that come at this time. No longer the world basing everything on the US dollar. There may be some changes with regards to that happens here. But certainly, this is just supporting that whole January 2021 time period where we had the Sun conjunct Pluto. We just have then these planets, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, conjuncting that same point, and of course, conjuncting Pluto. So I see February as probably one of the more significant months with regards to actual change that is tangible that we can see. That's truly going to be supporting the people, right? Now, what may also at this time, we may have an emergence of different groups, because that's another Aquarius thing, is, our groups that we belong to, right? And the idea is that no one's elevated to a position of power within the group. When we talk about Aquarius, everyone's supposed to be similar, right? But I think in the end, we contribute, all its individuals will contribute something to the group. I did do a video on Pluto in Aquarius. I'm not going to get into too much of that right now, but check out my video. I'll put the link below. I do go into all the sun signs and ascendants, so it might be worth your while checking out what area of your life, right, you're going to have Pluto operating from a transformational standpoint for 20 years, certainly starting officially in November 2024. All right, in March, we have our first eclipse. It's going to be really towards the end of March, and it will be at 5 degrees of Libra. We'll also have Venus will be opposing Saturn, and we'll also have Mars squaring Uranus. So there could be some things come to a big conclusion here of some sort with regards to what? Well, in an individual standpoint, Libra can represent things that are diplomatic. It can represent relationships, the law, that type of thing. Seeking harmony could be something that is relevant at this point. We could see some breakups of some relationships. Certainly with the Venus conjunct Saturn, we were really looking at things have to be real with regards to anything in the love area, right? But Venus also rules our money. So there could be some new rules and regulations in March that are formed around our money systems that are put into effect. If this is in your individual chart, this certainly could mean that you got to take your money more seriously. But for others, it could just say that you take the value of yourself more seriously. Or that may be even at its best. We could see those above you, your superiors, saying that I value who you are and giving you some recognition. Now, the Mars square Uranus just means fractious energy here, that it's almost like, things popping out of the woodwork. So it could be something along that line in March where we see disagreements. And like I mentioned earlier, this is an election year. So there will be something happening in March with regards to the election as well. It just may be, as I said, things popping out, this energy popping out that says, see me, see me, see me, right? Now we look at April, we have another eclipse. And this is a more significant one from the standpoint of that it's a total eclipse. It's a new moon at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April. Now, the other thing that goes with this whole eclipse is the fact that we've got a Mercury retrograde happening in Aries. And this particular Mercury retrograde does stay in the sign of Aries. So really, if you've got any sort of major placements around Aries, you're probably going to be affected in some way in April, and not necessarily in a bad way. You really have to look at your individual chart. It's a new moon eclipse, so that's positive. And it just, generally speaking, in Aries initiates things, right? When we talk about Aries in an eclipse, generally speaking, depending where this is in your chart, will indicate, what new beginning you're going to have. And when you have a total eclipse, there could be some, if you've got something around the 19-degree mark of Aries, or maybe the opposite sign of Libra, something unexpected comes in, whoosh, like this big breath of fresh air to give you some new beginning and maybe help some folks express their individual need to be on their own path, right? So that Mercury retrograde we spoke about will be at 27 degrees of Aries. We're also going to have other things happening here too. We will have on the 25th of April that Mercury will go direct at 15 degrees of Aries. So we're looking at the 15 to 27 degrees of Aries for the Mercury retrograde, right? We have Jupiter, notably, will be conjunct Uranus at 22 degrees of Taurus around the 25th of April. But honestly, if you look at an ephemeris, you'll see that Jupiter and Uranus are close in orb of conjunction, not only the whole month of April, but also into May. But if we pick out a particular day where they are exactly conjunct, we're looking at around the 25th of April. So see if you've got anything at 22 degrees of Taurus. And I did a video on this too. I'll put that link below. I cover all the ascendants and sun signs too in that video. But April could also be another really significant month, really for, I would say, big breakthroughs and new starts. And again, look to, first of all, where you've got Aries, but then also look where you've got Taurus at 22 degrees with that whole Jupiter conjunct Uranus, right? Now, to have any major effects, as I always say, you really have to have something very close to these degree points that I'm discussing here, right? We also have Venus conjunct the North nodes, and I really like that. So that puts, to me, potentially an emphasis again on our money. It could put an emphasis on relationships, and it could put, especially if it aspects something in your chart, if it does, maybe you're going to get on a new destiny path with regards to relationships and or our values, right? And especially value of ourself. So there may even just be some discussions that go on with the whole effect of Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius asking us to, treat everybody as equal. This could have discussions going on with regards to how we need to do that. And as a collective, get on our destiny path here where we do value each individual. Also in April, we will have Mars conjunct Saturn. That's on the 9th of April. And then Mars also will be the same month conjunct Neptune on the 29th of April. So these are all big activations. Mars likes to activate things, right? And so Mars conjunct Saturn, first of all, it can put a delay on something where, the law or the laws or someone in power says, no, stop, you can't go forward right now. And then when we've got Mars conjunct Neptune, that can bring in elements, especially on a collective level, of fogginess, deceit, hiding things, that sort of thing. So that's around the end of April. You can have this going on. And I think we're going to probably see this playing out more in the collective, maybe with things around the election, where people are hiding things or have been hiding things, and then that all comes out into the open. Yeah, so that could actually happen too in April. So looks like a pretty packed month in April too, especially for breaking free and getting on a new path with regards to you being an individual. When we look at May, we've got a full moon at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. Pluto will be going retrograde, but it'll stay at around that 2-degree Aquarius mark. And it will be sextiling the sun. The sun will be trining Pluto. We have the sun going to be conjunct Uranus in May. And also in May, around the 4th week of May, we're going to have Jupiter ingress or go into Gemini for a year. And that's going to be exciting, right? And I also did a video on this, so I'll put the link below for that one as well. But really, Jupiter in Gemini is going to put a bigger spotlight on any kind of communications, essentially. Now, I guess you could say that things like AI, it's already big discussions about that. But as I dip my toe more into that too, it's like, wow, there's a lot of things surrounding it. So I think there's going to be big discussions going on in that area. There could be new breakthroughs with regards to any kind of communication systems. And I guess when we think about it, we use things like the internet a lot, right? Maybe there's going to be a new version or upgrade of some sort that's going to be significant for us. Jupiter, as its own standalone, can represent foreign people and foreign things. So there may be a lot more discussions and talk about foreign things in that month of May too, throughout the year till May 2025. When we look at June, with Jupiter now in Gemini, it will be trining Pluto in Aquarius. And so there may be some significant transformation here of some either communications that are out there regarding foreign people, foreign lands, or just some kind of major upgrade, like I said, a transformation of some sort with regards to our communication systems. We will have Venus sextile Mars, and here we're talking about, of course, the influence of both Cancer and Taurus here. So these are lovely energies. If you've got anything around that Cancer degree, this could bring in some opportunities for relationships, but it can also bring in some opportunities for friendships too, and also sort of collaborative working together. You know, we're looking at both Cancer and Taurus here as signs as part of the sextile. And so when we talk about Cancer, we're talking about certainly anything to do with nurturing. And then, of course, Taurus is all about potentially the land. It's our money systems. So that's the other thing with the Venus part especially. It could be our homeland takes on some new initiative with regards to our money systems in June. And that actually occurs around the end of June, 28th of June. And then Venus will be opposite the full moon in Capricorn on the 6th of June. So, and conjunct the sun. So I think that this month of June may bring some highlight here with regards to the money systems that we're talking about. For others, depending if you've got anything around this degree point, it may bring up some new relationship for you or end a relationship for you. It could go either way, right? You've got the mix of June of potential starting new relationships, opportunities for that, but then also at the full moon, which is really early on, that's on the 6th of June, there could be some decision of ending some relationships here too. But I think on a collective level, this is all about our money. Money and communication systems getting an upgrade of some sort in June. All right, when we look at July, we have the sun opposite Pluto on the 23rd of July. And so this is really power struggles. And I think this will translate on a collective level back to the whole election process through 2024, leading up to November, right? Just fractious energy of people in power saying, no, I'm more important, that type of thing. Now we look at the new moon in July, that's going to be at 14 degrees of Cancer. So that could be also significant for folks that have anything around that 14 degree mark, especially for Cancer rising, a whole new start for you, right? And I actually happen to have my ascendant at 14 degrees of Cancer. So keep an eye out for me, guys, for July. We will have the sun conjunct Venus on the 1st of July. I think that's really beautiful as well. We have a full moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Sextile Neptune exactly. So that is also going to be significant for July as well as that full moon. And I think that's going to mark a tie-up with regards to the whole Pluto being in Capricorn too this year, 2024. So I think, again, this is going to see some endings of political either parties or governments that are the old guard that need to go. And that's also going to be up here in July as well. And we're going to have Venus opposite Pluto too on the 13th of July. This, I think, is going to be another tie-in with our money. Maybe there's going to be some major shift with regards to how those in power controlling our money are going to have to change. And maybe that's going to equate into our bank systems. I'm not a financial astrologer. There's lots of good ones out there. I'm just kind of reading how I would read astrology, generally speaking. We're going to have Mercury and Venus, though, will be trining the north nodes, and then they'll trine Chiron in July as well. And so this is, I think, pleasantries, people speaking nicely, people being charming, that type of thing. People talking about where do we need to go here with regards to our collective destiny? Where do we need to heal? Now, it could also have, if, things I'm hearing, rumblings of other type of respiratory diseases coming into play, if those transmit again on a worldwide level, this could have us talking about, in a favorable way, how to cope with that in July. But it's a trine, so I would say this is all positive energy, right? Now in August, we have a new moon at 12 degrees of Leo. And of course, we must remember that if we dial back to 2023, we had in early September that Venus retrograde that we had ongoing throughout the summer in Leo went direct at 12 degrees. So for those folks that were affected by this, the Venus retrograde at 12 degrees, this new moon is your new start for that. And certainly if you are, say, a Leo ascendant and you've got something at 12 degrees, or your ascendant rather is at 12 degrees of Leo, this is a whole new start for the whole year. But this is a new start in relationships. So there may be some folks that, went through some kind of transition in September 2023. And then in August, maybe some folks will get engaged, some folks will get married. It's a traditional month for marriage too. We're going to have a start of a Mercury retrograde in August, and it will be starting off on the 5th of August at 4 Virgo. But it's going to go direct at 21 degrees of Leo on the 28th of August. So we've got two signs being covered here in August. So Virgo as well as Leo need to pay attention to maybe reviewing something, depending where you have either Virgo or Leo in your chart. You may have to go back and take a look at things, perhaps with regards to how you've been communicating, or communications given to you can represent writing as well. We have Mars conjunct Jupiter on the 14th of August. That's absolutely lovely. That's going to give, and it's in Jupiter being in Gemini. I think this could be a time when there's some big initiative with regards to maybe some scientific breakthrough of some sort, where we get news of that. And again, this may also be tied in with any of our AI type things, any kind of communication systems. With Mars putting energy into it, it could be literally new communication systems being put into some overseas countries that gives us a bigger spotlight on what's going on over there. We end the month on the 30th with Venus, lovely trine with Pluto. That's fantastic. So this can bring in some very transformational love energies here, right? But it can also bring in some big transformation with regards to your money as well, in a very positive way, right? Because it's a trine. Now in September, we've got a new moon at 11 degrees of Virgo on the 3rd, and it's going to be opposite Saturn. Remember, Saturn is in Pisces at this time. So this could just mean, really, these are people wanting to exert their authority, that's the Saturn part, with that new moon. So, it just may have some individuals here saying, I'm in the right, I know the rules and the regulations here, and trying to bring out some facts. Hopefully this is a helpful thing for us too, right? Again, we go back to things happening regarding the lead up to the actual election. Will still be going on in September too. Now, what's interesting in September for me is that we're going to have the start of eclipses in Pisces for this year, and then next year we'll have one in the opposite sign of Virgo. But this is our clue to the fact that we're going to be having a change of the north nodes, right? Because eclipses happen as a result of the involvement of the north nodes and or the south nodes. So in this case, we have the north nodes being affected because the full moon eclipse is going to be at 25 degrees of Pisces. The actual nodes themselves, the transiting nodes, will not go into Pisces until 2025. That's January 20, sort of mid-month, January 2025. So it really doesn't fall into this year. But this is a little heads up for us. So it's a full moon eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces. So check to see where you've got 25 degrees of Pisces in your chart, because this could be an activation area that's really going to start in full force starting in January 2025 for about 18 months. And that's around the 18th of September, that full moon eclipse in Pisces. We have Mercury squaring Uranus this month of September. And so this is really, messages, communications go awry. I mean, if you think of it, Uranus is kind of the higher octave of Mercury here. So there could be some major breakdowns of communication systems. They maybe go down for some reason, or difficulties getting maybe major different internet type things or to internet related things working properly because there's some big challenges with regards to it. We have the sun opposite Saturn here too. And so this could actually see in September, I'm thinking maybe some facts come to life because there's a big influence of Virgo here in September that challenge some of those people that are in power, and maybe some people stepping down here that had some kind of power or did some kind of rules and regulations. I wonder if it's going to be the in the USA anyway, the Supreme Court or something like that, where somebody is challenged and they may have to step down in September. Okay, we'll have to see about that. We're also going to have the sun here squaring Jupiter. And it's really hard to get a bad aspect with Jupiter. You got to work pretty hard for that. But this could bring in some exaggeration from those who already have big egos. I've not put the degree points down here, but know that, in my monthly videos, I will give you all that as well. Nicely, though, we're going to have Venus trine Jupiter on the 15th of September, and that's beautiful. These are the two benefics. This is just mark that as a really pleasant day where really good things could happen for you. When we look at Pluto, Pluto's now going to be kind of stationing and staying at that 29 degrees of Capricorn right the way through parts of November before it finally sits in to 0 degrees of Aquarius and stays there for 20 years or so. So this is also a tie-up, that 29 degree is called an anaretic degree. It really just means that it's this big culmination of energies for that final push of what? To really see the end of political power that is no longer of use to us. So there may be some big upsets here, not only in September, but right the way through the first part of November too, in that regard. In October, we are going to have a new moon at 10 degrees of Libra conjunct Mercury. And that's on the 2nd of October. Well, this is just going to bring, in my mind, if whatever fractious stuff has been happening prior to this new moon, this is going to bring in some real peace, some real harmony, and diplomacy will be working at its highest and its best. The full moon is going to be at 24 degrees of Aries, and that's going to be on the 17th of October, and it will be squaring Mars, its ruler. So generally speaking, this full moon could just bring in some challenges, especially if you've got something around that 24 degree of Aries. Challenges to what? To move forward, basically, to make changes. So it's squaring the ruler of Aries, Mars. So that's going to be some challenges around that full moon. And when we look at the sun, it will be squaring Pluto on the 22nd. And that's also going to bring, again, these ego energies into light, right? And cause some challenges for us. I think this is more from a collective standpoint. People standing up saying, I'm in the right, or I've got the power. And, the ego is getting out there. Now, we're going to have Mars also trine Neptune, so it's not going to be square or conjunct Neptune, it's going to be trine. So this is really bringing some hope and inspiration into October for us, right? And then we're also going to have Venus square the Saturn part of it here too. So that's going to just also bring challenges into our money systems. Maybe there's going to be some blip that happens on the stock market at that time where we've got to take accountability for where are we going here with our money. Or we're being asked to be more accountable with regards to our money, say on an individual level. For others, it can bring in some challenges with relationships. I've not got the degree points here. Again, I'll put that into my monthlies when I put my videos up for each of the individual months. So when we go into November, November 5th, 2024 is the presidential election, the formal day that happens. And so we're going to have what? We're going to have a new moon on the 1st, and that will be at 9 degrees of Scorpio. I see that as a relatively, good thing. It precedes the actual election. So let's hope that brings in some new things with regards to not only the presidential election going well, but also in regards to our money systems too. So that whole Scorpio-Taurus axis can also represent our monies here. That day we're going to have the Sun trine Saturn. That's excellent too. Maybe there's going to be agreement for those that have, that control our money systems. Maybe there's going to be some positive news of some sort. That would be awesome. What else do we have happening here? We've got the full moon at 24 degrees of Taurus, and it will be sextiling Saturn at this time as well. So I think November, apart from the probably antics around the presidential election on the 5th, I think this is going to be a money month, money systems month. Banks, the Fed in the USA, all that activity is going to be, I think, around those areas as well. We have Venus squaring Neptune, so this could be, some kind of revelation with regards to smoke and mirrors or confusion around money or money systems. We're going to have Mars also opposite Pluto at this time, and that could just be aggression. That's what I'm seeing, powerful aggression of some sort happening in November too. Now, this could also play out in the political world too, of course, right? A push and pull of power, that opposition. Venus will be opposite Jupiter, and I don't see that as a negative either, except that, again, an opposition with Jupiter can bring in, exaggeration. So again, it's in the November, the month of November, where the election is. People. I'm getting this image of people pounding their chest, and maybe some of those women are going to be women because this is Venus, right? But it can also bring in maybe some real, not necessarily challenges, but discussions. I'm thinking, even though it's not Mercury, around our money systems. And maybe this will also involve some kind of big communications that have to happen because Jupiter, remember, is in Gemini at that time. We're going to have also the Sun opposite Uranus again. And of course, this is going to bring in, unexpected events around, I think, that month. I think it's going to affect the whole month, that whole Sun opposite Uranus. And it's going to bring in unexpected events around those people that may be I'm thinking there's some subversive stuff going on here with that whole lineup. Let me just look up to see exactly when the sun is going to be opposite Uranus in November 2024. Just give me a minute here, guys. Yeah. So we're looking at around the 17th of November 2024. So, you know, the counting the ballots and all that is certainly going to be going on around that point, but I think there's going to be some challenges, unexpected things popping out around that November. But it could also bring in something to light, some communications, because Jupiter's in Gemini regarding, again, foreign countries of some sort here, right? All right, when we go into December, we have, first of all, Pluto will be going direct. We are going to have a new moon in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, listen up. You've got in 2024, you know, new beginnings for yourself. And especially if you have something around 9 degrees of Sagittarius, these are going to be new beginnings. But they won't come without some kind of consideration, especially at this new moon on the 2nd of December at 9 Sagittarius, because it will be squaring that whole Saturn in Pisces. And this could just mean a challenge for you to start these new beginnings that you want to get on with. Maybe you've got to just check a few boxes here and maybe check in with people in authority before you can move forward with that new start, wherever this falls in your chart, right? We have Mars going retrograde also in December, and it's going to go retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo. So certainly check to see what you might have around that 6-degree mark of Leo. It won't cover the same geography as the Venus retrograde in Leo. We also are going to have Venus conjunct Pluto. Well, these are like transformational love connections could happen at this time. But this will be for a second time, right? We already talked about in February the inner planets, right, that move very quickly. We had Venus conjunct Pluto at that time too. So this is the second time here that Venus could conjunct Pluto. And if we take it to sort of like an individual level, it could just be some people decide to take whatever major connection, love connection they had at that time, and maybe it goes to the next step or the next level here. But it can also mean major transformation, like maybe the final transformation of our money systems, right? Because remember, at this time, Pluto will be in Aquarius along with Venus in Aquarius. This will not be a Capricorn thing. So some kind of, I'm thinking more, you know, money being distributed to the people. I mean, we'll have to see how that pans out, I guess. But because Aquarius is involved here, right? Some kind of people, the people in power, giving literally power to the people, but it's in connection with their money. We're going to have the full moon at 23 degrees of Gemini, and that will be squaring Neptune too here. This is just going to bring in some challenges with regards to any kind of communications. So if you've got something at 23 degrees of Gemini, you know, note that the heads up here is there's going to be some confusion, and more than likely that confusion is going to be around communication systems, whether that's you talking, even your thinking, right, your thoughts, or writing projects of some sort too. The new moon is going to be at 9 degrees of Capricorn on the 30th, and Venus will be squaring Uranus. So Venus square Uranus around that time of the new moon, again, I think is going to go back to this whole money type thing where there may be another shakeup in money systems. And this could be a worldwide thing that could actually be happening here, right? The new moon at 9 degrees of Capricorn just has that one thing. But certainly for those folks that do have something, say at 9 degrees, like your ascendant, this could bring in a whole new start for you. If you do have your own sun or moon around that 9 degrees, this could set up some new start for you for the next year. All right, that kind of wraps up my take for each of the months Again, it's at a really high level. I know many of my viewers will know more than me and might want to put some comments in there with regards to maybe something I might have missed. But know that I will get into more detail, including degrees and dates, when I do my actual videos for each of those months. So next I'm going to go on to look at either your sun sign and or your ascendant. Whatever resonates with you, might be a good idea to maybe listen to both or watch both. And I just wanted to say a big thank you and a hello to all my Spotify and audio listeners. Man, that whole system that I've got going is just taking off due to people really listening to all my podcasts. So I want to thank my listeners for that too. All right, let's delve into the ascendants and or your sun signs next. All right, so let's go into the individual signs and or sun signs. As usual, you should go with whatever actually resonates with you, right? I would suggest you actually listen or watch both your ascendant first to see what area of life what I'm talking about is going to affect you, and then do your sun sign, because the sun is the most important thing in your chart, right? Just to get some more information. Hi, Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, right on the 1st of January, you have Mercury going direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, it still has to come out of shadow through January, probably right around the third week of Jan, it'll be out of shadow, but this is great news. If you have something around 22 degrees, this could have a real turnaround with regards to what? Any written work, communications that may have gone awry in December. And I certainly do have. My own Mercury is at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, so it'll be interesting to see what happens during January for me with regards to miscommunications that may have happened in December, coming full out into the open and moving forward in January. Now, the other thing that goes with this particular degree point, so bear with me, is an actual Mercury retrograde starting at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. And that's going to be on the 26th of November. So for those, especially those Sagittarians that say are early born Sagittarians, when we have that Mercury retrograde at 22 Sagittarius, it's going to now cause you to have difficulties with communications potentially, especially with something, a foreign element. It could have the law coming in here. So we're looking at all things Sagittarian, right? The law, publishing, advanced degrees you might want to take. Know that on the 26th of November, that Mercury goes retrograde at 22 degrees. So if you've got something around that point and you're trying to do all these things that I've just mentioned that are ruled by the ninth house, you may have some delays that you'll have to account for. It won't change maybe long term, but it may have you going back over some things in those areas of life that I just spoke about. But these two time periods may be connected for some reason with regards to communications, writing, emails, anything regarding that. So the 1st of Jan and then the 26th of November, when we have Mercury at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. It's kind of interesting, actually. And I think in terms of foreign affairs, there'll certainly be a lot of foreign affairs literally during the whole of 2024 up for review. All right. So when we see in February, we dial back to like that third week or so of January, when we have the Sun conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. And then in February, we have Mercury, Venus, Mars, all at 0 degrees, also at 0 degrees of Aquarius. It sextiles, right, your sign. So I would say, Sagittarius, if you've got anything, say, around from 0, I would take 0 right up the way to 3 degrees of Aquarius in your chart. You've got this fabulous sextile happening, which will actually start when the Sun conjuncts Pluto in January, and then throughout the first half of February, all the other inner planets also sextiling. So see if you've got those degrees anywhere in your chart, because they'll be favorably activated with regards to giving you opportunities, potentially in those areas. And those opportunities are more than likely going to come through something like third house matters. And that is communications of any sort. It could be short travel of some sort. Right? So as opposed to long distance, this is short distance travel, the third house. It could be just certifications. That type of thing could come in to be more meaningful for you. Your siblings and neighbors may take on more importance for you too with regards to you transforming. And don't forget that once Pluto goes fully into Aquarius in 2025, that whole area of your life will be lit up for some time. So there's kind of a heads up, mostly February time period. See what comes up for you in terms of opportunities in the houses that are affected for you, especially that third house, because that may be a heads up of the following year and many years to come. Those areas may give you lots of opportunities for positive transformation. All right, so when we look at both Saturn and Neptune, both in Pisces, they're at different degree points, but that squares your sign, Sagittarius, and it squares your fourth house. So this is going to be an influence that's going to be ongoing on and off, and especially the Neptune one, where Neptune will get to 29 degrees of Pisces squaring your sign. So sort of look at those degrees, because it could put in some difficulties with regards to your fourth house. And the fourth house is the home that you live in. It could be your childhood home. It's your mother, and by extension, your family and your habits. Well, all those are going to need some work on your part, Sagittarius, where you may have to resolve some challenges there that aren't going to be automatically figured out for you. You're going to be involved in the figuring out. Now, if you're, for instance, say buying a home, I would say, and this is just applying to kind of the whole time period of 2024, just do your due diligence, right? Do your due diligence to put yourself in a favorable situation. Do all the checks of the home itself, maybe double check some things. But it could be that for some Sagittarians that you're having to deal with, say your mother is now on her own and she needs a bit of care and she can no longer stay in her home. Or alternatively, she can stay in her home, but she needs assistance and you live close by and you go to live with her. And this is an adjustment time period, or vice versa. She comes to live with you and it's an adjustment period of both of you living in the home together. And this can also apply to family members as well, of course. All right. So when we look at June, we have Mercury and Venus in Gemini, and that's in your 7th house. So that's opposite to your sign, Sagittarius. So this says to me that June may be an important month for you to communicate with regards to a business partnership in particular, clients. There may be much more communication going on with clients if that's what you do as part of your business. But it could also bring up communications with regards to your marriage partner, and where you'll have to deal with a lot more things. Now, it can be pleasant because you've got Venus there, right? So it's both Venus and Mercury, and they're not going retrograde at this part. It could just be pleasant conversations. Maybe you will have some flirtations. Gemini is very flirtatious, and with Mercury and Venus in Gemini, it could be that you'll have some very nice, favorable, flirtatious energy going on with that 7th house as well. And maybe a potential marriage partner comes into view for you that you literally communicate with. Now, when we look at that Jupiter conjunct Mercury, as well as Venus that we just spoke about, that's also going to be in June. So this is going to be potentially, I would say, a teacher or an advisor into view for you. Because it's in the 7th house of other, it can be people like other people, like an advisor of some sort comes in for you of benefit. So pay attention. I mean, if you are, for instance, looking for some advisor for whatever it is that you need, either a teacher, advisor, that type of thing, I would say June is going to be really awesome for you to pull in and attract the right person for yourself. Like it could be a lawyer, it could be a financial advisor. Especially financial advisor, because that's Mercury and Venus together, right? Or even it could be that maybe with your marriage partner, you enter into some psychological therapy. That's excellent. June would be the month to do it for sure. You also are going to have a full moon in Sagittarius in June as well, so it could bring some conclusion or some big illumination to your partnerships as well, business as well as marriage. Let's see here. So Jupiter rules your sign, so we always want to look at, well, where is Jupiter for this year in 2024? And Jupiter for you this year is in your opposite sign of Gemini, the latter half of the year. And so this says that partners and partnerships, clients, business partnerships are all going to be important for you to pay attention to with regards to doing appropriate communication with them. Or they may be doing a lot more communicating. Maybe they are even going to be doing some short distance travel that somehow affects you, right? Gemini is about short travel as well. Gemini is also about siblings. So siblings may be more important to you, as well as your neighbors, your neighborhood. You may have to actively enter into some kind of communications with these people, especially starting towards the end of May 2024, following the whole year to May 2025. So we have a Mercury retrograde that starts in Virgo, and that's going to be in August. It doesn't stay in Virgo, it does dip back into Leo, but the retrograde itself does start in Virgo, and that's going to aspect your 10th house by square, right? So I would say that, especially the August time period, there may be some challenges for you with regards to what? Your career, your reputation, your social standing, your long-term goals. There may just be some challenges. Now, with Virgo says, collect the most important facts. Don't just collect all the facts. Collect the important facts. And so if, for instance, you're thinking here in 2023 that you want to change up your career, you could potentially have opportunity to put a plan in place and do some investigating of that and what you have to do to make that happen in August during the retrograde. And then once the retrograde is stopped, you can then maybe go forward with whatever plan it is. The plan may include you have to get some more certifications. The plan may include you want to do an advanced degree, all that type of thing. The plan may be you want to totally do something different in your career. Spend that retrograde period in August of investigating how you can do that, right? But it could see some delays with regards to you wanting to do or institute a change in a career or communicating with people, say, in a job. They may not flow as easily as you want. You may not hear back from a job interview, for instance, or an application, that type of thing. You just may have to put some extra effort in to see where it's at, right? So when we look at Pluto, once it goes into Aquarius full time, right now it's only between 0 and 2 degrees. And if you do have something around 0 to 2 degrees, this could be a year that it starts really affecting you. It's going to be sextiling your sign, and it's going to be in your 3rd house. So this is awesome for any kind of improving communications, developing maybe a new communication style, maybe even taking up a new language. You may get opportunities to do that, and it's very favorable for you. It could help transform you. Your siblings may be more important with regards to helping transform you as well. You could end up having to take up some kind of short-term travel as maybe part of your career, or maybe the new career that you want to do involves you doing short-term travel around your city or the state. But all those areas of life, or writing, if you're interested in writing could take on some transformational properties here, especially once we have Pluto going into Aquarius in 2025 permanently for 20 years. You could produce some, really important pieces of work during that time period. 3rd house is also anything to do with sales and commerce. Perhaps you'll be a powerhouse and set up some kind of situation with regards to maybe an online store of some sort that starts to make a lot of money for you. All right, when we look at that eclipse that's going to be happening, it's a total eclipse, new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries. And that's going to be around April 2024. And concurrent with that, we're also going to have a Mercury retrograde that stays in Aries too. That's all of April. Well, that's favorable for you. The whole thing is favorable for you because it trines your sign. And especially if you have something around that 19-degree mark of Aries, or you would say have your sun or your ascendant at 19 or so degrees of Sagittarius, this is going to form a trine and very favorable energy for you. So there's some big new start that's up here for you. And I mean, that big new start is going to be in your, let's just see what house it's going to be in for you, Sagittarius. Yeah, it's going to be in your 5th house. So that month of April is going to be some new big start for you with regards to big creative projects, especially ones where you take the initiation of it. If children are important for you, it could be some Sagittarians will get pregnant at this time and or have a child. It could also mean a new love comes into your life of significance. I mean, that eclipse at 19 Aries on the 25th of April is a total eclipse, and it's a new start. But overall, your creativity should be operating at a fairly high level, especially if you've got something around those degree points. With the retrograde part of it happening also in Aries, it just may mean that you'll have to do some planning in April to maybe make some of these new things that you want to do towards the end of April actually happen, and work with that eclipse to put that newness, at least in motion, right? When we look at also April, we've got Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and that's going to be in your 6th house. So the 6th house is the house of health. It is your day-to-day job. If you have employees, it's your employees. So some kind of unexpected benefit potentially is going to happen, or at least some kind of big illumination for you is going to happen in that house for you. When we have the conjunction. The conjunction is going to be at 22 degrees of Taurus. So you really have to have something around that degree to have this as a significant thing. But if you do, it's going to for sure bring up something unexpected your way, potentially bring in some good benefits for you for your health. So for those Sagittarians, say, that have some ill health of some sort, this could bring in a teacher, that's Jupiter, unexpectedly for you to help you with that. So I would say in April, if you have something like that step forward for you, you might want to take full advantage of that, because that's going to be very good for you. Now, the big thing is that you do, because it's in your 6th house, pay attention to anything that might spontaneously turn up regarding your health. It doesn't mean you're going to have bad health. It could just be some lucky benefit where you see some small thing happening and you go in to get it checked out and they say, no problem, good thing you came in now because we can take care of it. That sort of thing can happen. It can also bring in unexpectedly a whole new job for you, right? Your day-to-day work. If you don't work, it could bring in something unexpected. Maybe you're going to decide to do some teaching, not necessarily to earn money, but that's what you want to do day to day is actually teach, because that's very much Jupiter conjunct Uranus, where you unexpectedly get an opportunity to do that, right? Maybe even teach about health, help people with their health, that type of thing too, right? Okay, let's just see what else we've got going on here. Yeah, that whole conjunction that I spoke about, that's going to happen earlier on in the year. So we're talking about the end of January right through the first half of February, where we're going to have the Sun conjunct Pluto, Mercury, Mars, and Venus conjunct Pluto, all at 0 degrees Aquarius. Everyone's at that, all those planets. During that time period, well, that sextiles your sign, Sagittarius. So this could be very, very fortunate for you. Again, back to that 3rd house. But this is a big push. Like, this is like people in power reaching out to you saying, if you've got these degree points, right? Would you like to present for us? Would you like to get involved in this really lucrative sales and commercial project? You're going to be supported by those, the Sun conjunct Pluto, and then all the planets right the way through the first half of February also conjuncting that same point. So your 3rd house is going to somehow be activated. Now, it could be that you just get in touch with or have to deal more with favorably your siblings for some reason, that you have to get much more involved in that, or more involved in your neighborhood. Maybe something like even a neighborhood watch thing you help put together that can help transform your community. That would be very much all those planets sextiling Pluto and you in Sagittarius, right? Or conjuncting Pluto and sextiling you, Sagittarius. That would be an awesome way to use that energy. End of Jan, early February. But the third house is also writing projects, so you may be approached to do some writing end of Jan, early first half of February that really interests you. And with Venus involved here too, there may be some decent money that's involved in this as well, right? Now, we didn't talk about the full moon. That's going to be at 25 degrees of Pisces, and that's going to be squaring your sign. And we already know that both Neptune as well as Saturn are also going to be continuing to square your sign and your fourth house. So Sagittarius, this is just like a heads up. Something's going to culminate there in September regarding your home, your family, and or your mother and your habits. There's going to be a change there that's got to happen. And it being a full moon, it could just mean that everything gets illuminated for you regarding those areas of your life. It could also be that you could decide to buy or sell a home at that time, at the eclipse point, especially in September. But with both Saturn and Neptune squaring your sign and that same house, there could be problems or challenges with regards to a house, maybe that you buy or that you want to sell. But there could be problems also that culminate in September at the eclipse at 25 of Pisces, right? It just means that you have to think outside the box, Sagittarius, and you're really good at doing that. All right. Take care of yourself, Sagittarius. All right, everybody. I'm sure I've missed some things out that my very apt and able subscribers and viewers and clients will point out to me in the comments, and please do that. I'm happy to have it. I did try to take a really good look at 2024, not only for, generally speaking, the months, but also for you individually. Obviously, I'm going to give you a lot more details as we go through each month and I post my videos. I did mention that I've got 2 other links here that you could check out. Jupiter going into Gemini, and then, of course, the whole Jupiter conjunct Uranus. I did videos on both those, as well as actually Pluto in Aquarius. And I think you'll really find them useful if you're interested in them. Links are below. Look, everybody, I want you to take care of yourself. We've got a new year, a new start, and I'm really feeling optimistic for everybody and sending you lots of love for, I hope, a lot of our dreams and wishes coming true in 2024. Please take care, and we'll talk to you soon.